plastic is absolutely scary for birds and wildlife because it is oftentimes fatal. And so why these birds pick the trash up is they do think they're marine organisms like they usually feed on, and the plastic actually picks up the scent of the marine ecosystem. So they smell like fish or jellies or whatever else the birds may be picking up. And ingesting them, obviously, they become full because you can't digest plastic. And as you see in that photo, that bird was definitely drawn to plastic and would have no room for food and would become toxic from the plastic and starve. So for pelagic birds, it's just a horror. So I picked up 3 pounds of trash today. Last month I picked up 8 pounds of trash right up there in the headlands. And I want you to know, if you pick up the little amount of trash, if you're picking up those little micro bits, those are the things that the birds and wildlife and fish go for. So it's really important. It doesn't matter how much your trash weighs, every little piece of plastic picked up is out of the system, and that's a great thing. The other scary thing about trash is fishing line. Here in the marine environment, loose fishing line is deadly. Birds will become entangled in it and will starve to death, or they'll be predated on. And even if they are predated on, say like by the peregrine falcons that happen to nest over here and eat birds, the falcons can become entangled because they're feeding on entangled birds. So Kaylani, can you hand this one around? Just show it off a little bit. So imagine, this is actually one of Roberta's and my adventures in the harbor. We were paddling along picking up trash, and we saw this flapping in the kelp. We knew it was off. That was not something, unless a bird is bathing, but this one just seemed distressed. And in fact, it was a young California gull that had line entangled around its foot and its wing, and it was running through its beak. So Roberta, by the way, is a veterinary technician. She's handled a lot of animals. I'm a wildlife biologist specializing in birds. I've handled a lot of captive and wild birds. So we do know how to handle these birds. So I was able to gently pull it over with my paddle, pick it up and put it in between my legs. And between the two of us, we untangled 5 feet of fishing line on that bird, a sinker and a hook as well. And this bird seemed to be healthy enough that we released it back onto the jetty rocks. It looked at us like, what just happened? And I think very gratefully, you know, very grateful when I tossed it some sardines, because that's also in my bird rescue kit, just to give them a little boost to get back on with their day, if you will. But most birds that become entangled that way don't survive. So if you happen to see, this is where our bird rescue mission comes in. If you're walking around the harbor and you see something that looks abnormal, a bird that's obviously entangled with fishing line and a hook, or one that's just sitting there fluffed up and easily approachable, just anything that would look abnormal for birds and or mammals, because the sea lions definitely come entangled in fishing line too. There are things that you can do. And I'm not encouraging anybody to handle a bird or pick a bird up if you're not comfortable with that. But if you are comfortable with that, this is one of the things that we do. So we'll take the bird, if it's a smallish bird, we can grab it, put it in a cat carrier, and then transport it all the way to Wetlands and Wildlife in Huntington Beach. It's the only real rehabilitation center that is around the area. And so sometimes that transport can seem like a long way off, but they do a great job. They won't tell us the outcome of our birds because there's so many birds that are brought into them. So if you'll take a look at your handout, and please, you don't have to keep this handout. We'll collect them at the end of the presentation, but this is so easy to do. There's only like 3 or 4 steps. So that's one. Wetlands and wildlife, it's the first, in the first paragraph. If you can safely catch it, you can transport it to wetlands and wildlife. If you can safely catch it and hold on to it, you can call animal control, and they'll come out and pick it up as well. Now, when I say safely catch it, if a bird has full wings and is not entangled, not likely going to catch it. They can fly. And so these are really for birds that can't fly. If they're entangled, they'll become weakened, and then that's when you can approach and pick them up. What I said is to call animal control. That's the third number here. They are working between 8 and 5 p.m. You can call them and have them come out. They'll ask you your location in the harbor. They'll ask you about what are you seeing about that animal that seems to be off. And they may ask you to take a picture and text them a picture. And they've been very responsive to me and my friends, and have come out to pick up the birds. Even they won't pick up non-native birds like pigeons, but we're talking about the native gulls and herons and egrets and cormorants and pelicans. And so that is for the birds. One thing is, if it's after hours, you're walking around and you see this, call the Dana Point Harbor Patrol, which is right down there also in this third paragraph. The numbers are all highlighted in red. They will then dispatch animal control for you. So it's all very tidy and really, they're very accessible. For mammals, I've called in 2 sea lions that have had line entangled around their neck. One of them is actually named Loki now because he was captured by the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. That's who you're going to call for a mammal. You're not even going to try to approach them, not even going to try to look at, touch them, see what's wrong. Take a picture, send your location into Pacific Marine Mammal Center. There's 2 numbers, one for texts and the other for just to talk to somebody about what you can do. And finally, for that, is the wind blowing okay? Or, can you hear me okay?
Just make sure they can in the back.
Okay. Everybody can hear me in the back, right? Oh, no. Now is this better? Okay. We're getting a little feedback up here. So finally, my number, I actually put my number on this handout at the very bottom. It's in the fine print, but it's in red. I live locally, luckily, and you can call me if you have something that you're concerned about and you don't want to go through the other alternatives. I will also ask you, what is the problem? What does it appear is going on? Where are you located? And then we'll have somebody try to find somebody to transport a bird if we're able to catch it. Okay, the other thing about the fishing line, because it's a big deal when it's loose, we want it to be disposed of properly, because if you dispose of it in the garbage can, that ends up going to the dump, and then it's probably going to be exposed again. And you know about gulls, they love to go and scavenge on a lot of our trash, and crows and other things too. And they can get entangled there, so even out of the marine environment. So what you do is, we have on the back of this, if you'll just flip over the document, I've got a map of the harbor, and I've highlighted the fishing line recycling tubes. And you just put in your line into one of these tubes. Those tubes, the line gets collected, it gets sent off to a center where they actually recycle those into great products like bags and jackets, etc. Yes, Vicki?
I didn't put the back on it, so maybe Kaylani wants to pass that around.
Okay. Well, you know what? You can find this document
on our website
at Stand Up to Trash's website. So that's a great thing to do. Just put those numbers right in your phone. There's only 3 or 4 of them, and make sure that they're properly titled, and you'll be able to whip them up even while you're out paddling or kayaking. So that is the scary part of trash. Why trash is so spooky to birds and other wildlife. And I'm going to ask you if you have any questions before I move on to our field identification part of the talk. Everybody's all clear on what to do if they find a bird or other? Yay! Then that means I explained it pretty darn well. And my friend Roberta and another very good friend, his name is Captain Gary Brighouse. I don't think he's here right now, but he's a captain for Captain Dave's whale watching trips. He's also a fellow team bird rescuer. And with his help, we have a bunch of like the fuel dock guys, the bait dock men that are also calling us now and saying, oh my gosh, there's a pelican here with a hook on it and it can't fly. And they'll even help catch it for us. And then we do the transporting. Okay, so very good. Let's go on to the fun part. I want to introduce you to my friends. Right here, there's three actually. Does anybody know what this white bird is? You do. What is it?
Is it a crane?
Is it a crane? That's a really good guess because there's a lot of features that look like a crane, right? But no, it is not a crane. What are those features that make you think it might be a crane?
It's long neck.
Long neck.
And it's white feathers.
And it's white feathers. Okay, very good. So you already got 2 field marks. You look at the size and the shape of the bird, and the shape would obviously include the neck. And you look at the plumage of the bird. That's the feathers, and they're white. What are some other features about this bird that might identify it as a specific bird? And I see 2 hands back here. Let's go with the stripes first. Egret? Are you two telling me this is an egret? You're absolutely correct. Wow, it's great that you know that. You're so young. Well, that's okay. That means your dad must be a birder. So yes, this is a great egret. This bird lives right down here in the harbor. They actually nest around in the area. You'll see them up there with the great blue herons with the big stick nests. They're a member of the heron family called a great egret. Some of the features, how about these long black legs, and how about that?